And then there were two. That's right. We are down to Notre Dame, Ohio State for the national championship of college football. It was a very, both games were very competitive for the semifinals. So we're going to talk about that, and we'll talk a little bit about the national championship game. Congratulations to Notre Dame and Ohio State. All right, so we are going to start with Penn State, Notre Dame. This was a great game. Man, this was a great game. Right down to the end. Field goal last 12 seconds field goal. And it definitely seemed like Penn State, for the most part of this game, felt like they were the ones in control. Even when Notre Dame took the lead, you kind of still felt like Notre Dame or Penn State was kind of just in control. Just like the line of scrimmage game just seemed like Penn State just kind of had it. I feel like this game, for the most part, was called pretty good. I think there was like one, maybe two plays that were like, yeah, I don't know if I would agree with that call, but other than that, it was pretty good. It came down to some very late, crucial mistakes. You can see that win probability in that fourth quarter was just all over the place, and Penn State did a really good job of getting Notre Dame to make mistakes throughout the game, but Notre Dame, I mean, they kept the Fighting Irish in it, man. For most of the games, they stayed competitive. They just kind of stayed hanging around, and then they made the one play they needed. Right after they got the touchdown to tie the game, they got the interception with like 2 minutes or so left to go in the game. And there you go, man. It was set up on Penn State's side of the field, prime field goal type area. Didn't have far to move the ball. I think like 10 yards or so. Then, sets up a little bit easier kick. Penn State, you had your shot, man. Y'all seemed like y'all were in control of this game for most of the game. The thing you got to give Notre Dame kind of credit for is they just at least held around. They hung around. They didn't make it easy on Penn State to just get large enough lead to kind of get away from it. Right? They didn't allow Penn State to just get away, even though they were kind of just making some mistakes and stuff like that. You got to give some credit to Riley Leonard. I mean, when they needed a third and short, like one or two, like he was running the ball. It was obvious that was what they were going to do. They've done that all year. I don't know why that was any kind of surprise to Penn State. So it was a great game. It was a great game, but it just came down to that field goal there late, and there you go. That's all. That's all she wrote. But this is a great game. I didn't really think the winner out of this game was going to be favored to win the national championship, and we can talk a little bit more about that later. But definitely going to be interested to see how Notre Dame handles the national championship game. They do have a good defense, and I know a lot of people kind of rave about that, and they compete hard enough on offense. Like they're not high flying on offense, so. They got down the field. They made throws and they needed them. They got first downs and they needed them. And it wasn't like they were just showing massive dominance. They were just getting it done. And that's all you got to do. You just got to get it done, get to winning time, and win the game. And that's what Notre Dame did. As for the other game, my Texas Longhorns went down. This is a fantastic game. It was really a great defensive battle this game, and you know what? I wasn't really too heartbroken on this game, mostly because I felt like this was the national championship game. I mean, like if one team's gonna win or from this game, I feel like they were probably gonna go on and win the national championship. That's just kind of my opinion. I know Notre Dame fans probably not going to agree with that, but it was never Ohio State never had a 2-score lead until the Jack Sawyer strip sack fumble recovery for 6 right there in the last 2:20 to go in the game, and then they went up 14. It was basically over at that point in time. And give that dude credit. He made one of the best plays of Ohio State lore history, football history at least, and it was a fantastic play. He destroyed Cam Williams on that play, on that right tackle. If you see I'll play this. Like, if you watch him, he absolutely destroys Cam Williams. I don't know how in the world Cam Williams goes from like kind of upright. Like, did he just get pulled down? Like, he just falls forward. I have no clue what was going on. What like when I saw the replay, when I saw it live, and I saw him getting around, I'm like, why was that so easy? And then you look back and it's like, why are you so off balance? Like, why did you get beat that bad? And that's supposed to be a first round pick in Cam Williams in the upcoming NFL draft. Like, he's supposed to be a really good tackle, and maybe that just says Jack Sawyer is a top 5, top 10 pick, which I thought that going into the game. And Jack Sawyer, I think with that one play, just kind of cemented it for me. I think he's that guy. He is an Ohio State Buckeye through and through. I think it's great for him that he was able to send the Buckeyes to the national championship with that play. I thought that was great for him. Dude's a classy guy, even though they're, some issues over the previous few games on some classiness there at Ohio State. But, I'm happy for that guy. Happy for, Ohio State. They got a good team. As far as, Texas, they had a good game. They really did. The defense played very well. They didn't let Ohio State did not look godlike. Oregon and Tennessee made them look godlike. And, Texas definitely did not make them look godlike. But probably the biggest play of the game, I'll say even more so than that Jack Sawyer play, was that one right before halftime, the little screen pass, 75 yards in the last 30 seconds. And that was right after Texas had scored a touchdown to tie the game, 7-7. And it's like, you can't give that play up. That was the play. That was the play. Because, they held Ohio State, coming out of halftime. Ohio State didn't score, but it doesn't matter. You can't let someone score 75 yards in one play in the last 30 seconds. That just can't happen. So, anyways, that it was a great game. It was competitive all game until obviously Jack Sawyer fumble 6. I don't know how many catches Jeremiah Smith had, but I think for most of the game, they were just showing like, oh, he only has one catch for like 2 yards or whatever it was. So I don't know. Maybe he had 2 catches in the game, but they didn't let Jeremiah Smith beat him, and they were in the game. The other thing that kind of came down to a crucial part of the game was the fourth down stop that Ohio State made. The fourth down, not fourth down, the goal line stop that Ohio State made right there as that, a couple plays later, Jack Sawyer then had that strip sack fumble for the touchdown. But a couple plays before that was the goal line stand. It was first and goal after a couple penalties in the end zone. It was first and goal at the 1. And the one thing that has always bothered me about Sark's play calling is he's gutless about running the ball in like the goal line area. He's so gutless about it, and it pisses me off. It's like, you're supposed to have like what everybody would say is the top offensive line in the country. And everybody had kind of said that. And if they're not the top offensive line in the country, they're definitely like top 2 or 3. So they're up there. And it's like, why is it you only run the ball one time? One time. One freaking time. straight ahead, power run. Like the sweep out to the side for an 8-yard loss, that was not a good look. Like that was the dumbest. I really cannot stand coaches that get infatuated with the side-to-side run game. That works against scrub-ass teams. That does not work against your Bamas, your LSUs, your Georgias, your Michigans, typically, Ohio States, Oregons. It doesn't work against top-tier teams because they have team speed. They can get side to side. It is very difficult for that style of running to work. Sure, you can hit a big run because you get it out in open space, but it doesn't work against really good teams. And so I really hate that defensive scheme mindset. And so when you go to that kind of the offensive run scheme mindset, so when you go to that kind of an offensive run play in the goal line where everybody is within 8 yards of the line of scrimmage, pretty much, it's really difficult to find the run lane to get what you need. And so that was just so infuriating. So infuriating. I actually loved most of the game, but that sequence there at the goal line was so damn infuriating. I mean, Quinn Ewers led you all the way down the field. Quickly, all the way down the field. And that was the goal line sequence was we'll try one power run play, and then we're going to do some weird Sark stuff. Just ridiculous. But Jack Sawyer, definitely booked into Ohio State lore. That was awesome. It was a great game. It was a very competitive game. Enjoyed the hell out of it. Let's talk about that national championship. So the national championship between the Ohio State Buckeyes and Notre Dame Fighting Irish, which Notre Dame Fighting Irish is the home team, I guess. No, I'm kidding. Neutral site game will be held in Atlanta. The interesting thing about this game, and kind of as we just kind of talked about that Ohio State game and how Texas basically stayed in it way better than Oregon and Tennessee, is really by containing Jeremiah Smith, right? Texas did a very good job of that. If I'm Notre Dame, I'm looking at Tennessee, they sucked. Oregon, they sucked. Texas, really competitive. What did Texas do? That's what I'm looking at. And to be pretty honest, Texas defense basically only gave up two drives for scores. They had the one, because Ohio State had the one long play right before halftime. That was the worst touchdown you could give up. That was the worst touchdown. Right before halftime, that touchdown was awful. And the fumble 6. So really, the Texas defense gave up, 14 points. And I know the one right before halftime actually does count against the defense, but just a really dumb lapse of a play. Because outside of that, everything was contained the whole game. Nothing big, over the top. There might have been one play I'm not really thinking of, but not really much of anything. So if I'm Notre Dame, I'm looking at what Texas did, what they were successful at, and that's what I'm trying to mimic. Because I don't think Notre Dame's going to get into a shootout and win with Ohio State. So I think if you're Notre Dame, you need to keep Buckeyes probably under 20 points. That's probably what your goal is, 20 points less, 21 less. And I think if they can do that, they might have a shot in this game. With that being said, Ohio State is favored by 9.5, and the analytics say Ohio State. That is a pretty large spread, even for a national championship game. I think the spread started with them against Texas at 5.5. I think it wound up moving to 6 by the time of kickoff. I don't know what it was for kickoff, but I think earlier in the day, I think it was 6. So it didn't move too much, but that is a pretty large spread. So obviously people are thinking quite highly of Ohio State. And I don't think Notre Dame's really going to have much of a chance to win the game. I think Ohio State has proven they have plenty of weapons because they were still able to move the ball A pretty good amount against Texas. They just weren't able to take the top off. Texas made it very clear that we're not going to let you have Jeremiah Smith take the top off on us, and they didn't. They made sure that they kept things in front of them. They did a pretty good job bottling up the run attack. So Ohio State's got plenty of offensive weapons, and I'm going to be really curious to see just how Notre Dame does, because I would give Ohio State the edge in the matchups between Ohio State offense to Notre Dame's defense, and even Ohio State's defense to Notre Dame's offense. But that's part of that is, Ohio State has very prolific weapons, and Notre Dame's more of like, yeah, we're gonna just slice and dice you like every play, just kind of like little cuts, little cuts, little cuts. They just keep chopping. They just keep chopping. And then they're at the end of the game, man, they're able to be there in winning time and get the win. And that's Notre Dame. So I think it'll be a pretty good game. I'll take Ohio State easily though. I'm really kind of interested to see how competitive Notre Dame's going to look in this game, and it is no knock on Notre Dame. I'm a really big fan of their coach. I just don't know how much of the talent that they can match up with Ohio State wise. That's about the only thing. I just don't see Notre Dame having the talent to match up. That's just it. So look forward to seeing this. I'm actually going to be traveling that weekend, so I'll be watching this in the Midwest up in Kansas. So hopefully everybody else enjoys this game. I know I'll enjoy this game. I'm looking forward to it.